The rain came down in waves as President Ibrahim Traoré stepped out of his armored vehicle. Thunder cracked through the sky above Ouagadougou's central prison, and the crowd that had gathered behind police barricades fell into a strange, hushed awe. No president had ever done this before, walk unannounced into the heart of the country's darkest place. Drenched aides and Secret Service agents scrambled behind him, but Traoré walked alone, his military boots echoing off the cracked pavement of the prison courtyard. He wasn't here for a photo op. He didn't tell the press. In fact, only one man inside that hellish compound knew he was coming, and even he thought it was a lie until now. Inside, the warden's office was a claustrophobic concrete box reeking of stale cigars and power games. Warden Kabor, a thick, jowled bureaucrat with fingers stained from ink and corruption, stood when Traoré entered. His uniform was crisp, but his eyes betrayed panic. "Mr. President, this is unexpected," Kabor said, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I know," Traoré replied simply, rain dripping from his shoulders onto the tiled floor. "Take me to cell 208. The warden froze, his eyes flicked to his deputy, then back to the president. "That section is under restricted access. Why not wait? Let me arrange." "No." The word cracked like a bullet. "I said cell 208. The warden swallowed hard, nodded, and gestured to the corridor. The small entourage moved, boots clicking on concrete, the smell of mold and metal intensifying with each step. Guards stepped aside, some bowing their heads, others just stared. Everyone knew something was off, something big. They reached cell 208. Rust stained the edges of the bars. The lock was ancient, the kind only meant to keep ghosts in. Inside sat a man with a grizzled beard, skin leathery from years of confinement, but eyes sharp as razors. He was reading a tattered book. When the lock turned and the door creaked open, he didn't look up. Until he heard the voice, Karim Ouedraogo, Traoré said. Karim stood slowly, disbelief chiseled into his features. His eyes widened, and he dropped the book. "This can't be real. You were a captain when they took me. Now you're president," Traoré said. "I haven't forgotten." The warden cleared his throat. "Mr. President, I assure you, this prisoner is not a prisoner anymore." Traoré snapped. "He's free." The silence after that statement was unbearable. Like the walls themselves were holding their breath. "But the paperwork, the records," Kabor protested. "I read them, all of them. You forged reports. You let him rot. 7 years for a crime he didn't commit. A crime I have evidence was orchestrated by men you protected." Karim blinked, his voice hoarse. "Why now?" Traoré turned to him, his eyes fierce. "Because now I have power, and I need you." Kabor stepped forward, sweating. "Sir, if you take him without proper procedure, you undermine the justice system, the opposition. The opposition tried to kill him, and me. Do not lecture me on justice." Traoré stepped into the cell and helped Karim to his feet. "I'm issuing a presidential pardon, effective immediately." "You don't need a pardon if you're innocent," Karim said bitterly. "I know," Traoré said quietly, "but this is Burkina Faso. We don't fix things with logic. We fix them with force." As they walked out, the entire cell block erupted in whispers. Some prisoners cheered. Others just stared hollow-eyed at the spectacle. A president walking a forgotten man out of hell. Outside, the rain had stopped. A rainbow threatened the edge of the clouds. But this wasn't a fairy tale ending. As they reached the car, a man stepped forward from the shadows, Colonel Bako, once a loyal soldier, now the defense minister, and the man who had buried Karim with lies 7 years ago. "You shouldn't have done this," Bako said to Traoré, voice low but lethal. Traoré squared his shoulders. "You have something to say it." Bako's eyes flicked to Karim, then back. "There are things buried for a reason. You're digging up corpses that should stay in the ground." "I'm not afraid of ghosts," Traoré said. "You should be, especially the ones who are still breathing." The tension was electric. Even the guards didn't move. "Are you threatening the President of the Republic?" Karim asked, stepping forward. Bako smirked. "I don't need to threaten. The moment you walked out of that cell, you painted a target on both your backs." Karim's jaw clenched. "Good, let them come." Traoré opened the car door, but before getting in, he turned to Bako. You were there the night Karim was arrested. I know what you did and I'm coming for the rest of you. Bako's smile faltered. The car drove off into the city, the streets slick and glistening. Inside, Karim sat in silence for a moment. Why me? He asked finally. Traore looked out the window. Because this country is broken, and to fix it, I need people who remember how it broke. People who lost everything because of the lies we were forced to believe. Karim stared at him. Then I hope you're ready for war, because if we open that door, everything will come out. I know, Traore said, and somewhere back at the prison, Warden Cable picked up a red phone. They're out, he whispered. The voice on the other end growled. Then initiate phase 2. The presidential palace at Kulauba sat like a fortress on the city's highest hill, but even from that height, President Traore knew danger didn't climb walls, it seeped in through cracks, disguised as loyalty. It had been 48 hours since Karim Ouedraogo walked out of cell 208, and already the air inside the palace had grown colder. Ministers who once swore allegiance now avoided eye contact. Advisors offered counsel only when pressed. Even the guards at the main gate had a different stiffness to their salute, as if waiting for someone else to give the next order. Karim sat across from Traore in the private strategy room. Gone was the prison beard, replaced with a clean, shaven face and eyes that had not softened since release. He wore a borrowed suit, slightly oversized, the collar pinched at the neck. They're planning something, Karim said, leaning forward, elbows on the table. Traore nodded. I know. You think it's Bako. I know it is. Then why haven't you had him arrested? Traore leaned back in his chair, lacing his fingers behind his head. Because if I arrest Bako now, I trigger a mutiny inside the armed forces. Half the army still sees him as the architect of national security. They think I'm the soldier turned president who got lucky in the revolution. To them, he's the spine of stability. Karim's lip curled. He's a traitor. He framed me, killed journalists, rigged contracts, sold off mines to foreign mercenaries and funneled the cash into private militias. I know, Traore said again, this time more quietly. But proving it without a civil war is another matter. A knock came at the door. One of the president's most trusted aides, Miriam Diallo, stepped in. She was lean, sharp, pied, and rarely smiled unless something went wrong. We've intercepted 2 encrypted communications from the Ministry of Defense to an unknown IP relay bouncing through Dakar and Tripoli, she said. They're setting something up. We've also lost contact with 3 battalion leaders in the north. Orders? She asked. Don't confront yet, Traore said. Watch them, record everything. Miriam hesitated. Sir, respectfully, if you wait too long, they'll show their hand. Karim interrupted. Miriam turned to him, surprised by the intrusion. If Bako's moving pieces, Karim continued, he wants Traore to overreact. That's how he rallies the rest. You flush him too early, he becomes a martyr. You wait, he becomes careless. Traore gave a slight nod. Exactly, Miriam hesitated, then withdrew. Understood. As the door closed, Karim turned to the president again. What about the files? Traore reached under the table and unlocked a steel drawer. He pulled out a battered leather briefcase. Inside were documents Karim hadn't seen in years. Photos, intercepted bank transfers, personnel records, assassination orders, evidence. Karim stared at the file marked Cassandra. You kept this all these years. I kept everything, Traore said. Because I knew one day I'd have to burn this whole system to the ground. Karim's jaw tightened. Then let's light the match. But the next morning, before dawn, the match came from somewhere else. A car bomb exploded just outside the presidential press wing. 3 aides were killed. One of them was Karim's sister, Aissatou, who had only visited the palace for the first time the day before. She had come to see her brother free after 7 years. Karim was the first to reach the scene. He dropped to his knees beside the burning wreckage, his hands clawing through debris. There was nothing left to save. Traore arrived moments later. Karim didn't speak. He just turned to the president, face streaked with ash and blood, eyes burning. It's Bako. Traore crouched beside him. I know. No more waiting. Traore looked at the flames. No more waiting. By nightfall, a secret tribunal was held under the guise of a national security meeting. Only 6 people were present. Traore, Karim, Miriam, the head of internal intelligence, the chief justice of the military court, and an old colonel named Hamad Dambia, who had fought alongside Traore during the coup. "We have one chance," Traore said. "We move against Bako. We have to take the entire network. No leaks, no survivors. Every general, minister, and corporate backer connected to him must be neutralized before dawn." Colonel Dambia scratched his beard. "That's a purge, Mr. President. It's a war," Karim said, "and it started the moment they killed my sister." The intelligence chief leaned forward. "We can intercept Bako's convoy tonight. He's scheduled to leave the ministry compound at 0200 hours, but if he's warned, he won't be." Miriam said, "We're shutting down communications across the capital for a 5-hour blackout. No calls, no messages, no satellite syncs. Complete dead zone. Then we strike," Traore said, but someone had already talked. At 1:38 a.m., just 22 minutes before the convoy hit the ambush point, a sniper's bullet shattered the glass of the strategy room inside the palace. It missed Traore by inches. Alarms wailed. Chaos erupted. The blackout had failed. Karim and Miriam dragged Traore into the underground panic vault as gunfire erupted across the capital. Factions inside the army were already moving, some for the president, some for Bako. The civil war they had tried to avoid had begun in a whisper and now thundered in the streets. Inside the vault, Traore slammed his fist on the steel table. "We were too late." "No," Karim said, "we were just too exposed." "What now?" Miriam asked as explosions echoed above them. Karim stepped toward the security terminal, his voice like steel. "Now we go dark, we disappear, and we come back with fire." Just then, a backup alert flashed on the screen. One word: extraction. "What is that?" Miriam asked. Traore looked at Karim. "You ready to vanish for a while?" Karim gave a cold smile. "I vanished for 7 years. What's a few more days?" And as the palace crumbled above them, the president, the prisoner, and the strategist vanished beneath the city into a network of tunnels no one but the revolutionaries of old remembered. The ghosts were rising. And war had officially begun. The tunnel beneath the palace was carved decades ago, a relic from the French occupation, later repurposed by revolutionaries who had dreamed of liberating Burkina Faso through shadow and resistance. The path twisted deep beneath the city, bypassing checkpoints, power grids, even abandoned metro lines that hadn't seen daylight since the 1980s. As President Traore, Karim, and Miriam moved through the pitch-black veins of the city's forgotten past, the world above them collapsed into a chessboard of betrayal. "Where does this lead?" Karim asked, his voice reverberating off the damp walls. "To the Zone Rouge," Miriam replied, tapping coordinates on her wrist tracker. "Old military ruins near Gaskind. No one's touched it in decades. It's invisible to satellite." "Are we sure?" Traore asked. "No," she said flatly, "but right now, invisible is better than loyal." They walked for hours. The silence between them was less exhaustion and more calculation. Every step forward required 5 mental steps ahead. Bako had unleashed the dogs. Private militias roamed the city under the veil of darkness, some loyal to the former intelligence chief, others simply hired blades seeking power through blood. The president's face had vanished from the national broadcast. State TV played patriotic anthems on a loop, a coded signal to rebels that a coup was underway. By dawn, they emerged into the ruins of the Zone Rouge. Tangled barbed wire, collapsed bunkers, and scorched concrete formed a grim landscape. But inside one of the buried command modules, Miriam powered up an ancient Cold War-era surveillance suite. To their surprise, it still worked grainy, slow, analog, but untouched by modern sabotage. "Let's find out who's alive," she said, patching in what remained of the intelligence grid. What they saw chilled them. In every ministry, black flags were draped over the entrances, a sign of allegiance to Bako's shadow regime. Public protests had been staged, then crushed within hours. Images of Traore had been desecrated, replaced by clips of Bako standing in front of armored columns, declaring himself transitional president of the republic. Karim paced like a caged animal. We knew he was a viper, but now he's wearing the skin of a patriot. The people think you fled, that you're weak. I didn't flee, Traore muttered. I'm still standing. Karim turned to him. Then you need to speak, tonight. Unfiltered, underground. Traore stared at the old broadcasting console. We'd need a signal. We'll steal one, Miriam said. That night, under cover of smoke and darkness, Karim and Miriam led a two-person infiltration unit into the state television headquarters. It had become a fortress guarded by masked paramilitaries who had been promised promotions in Bako's new regime. Miriam's plan was surgical. She rerouted a dormant satellite uplink, one used by international relief agencies, into the emergency broadcast channel. They had exactly 7 minutes before the system auto shut down, enough for a message, if spoken by someone who still commanded belief, at 02:17 a.m. Ibrahim Traore appeared on screens across Burkina Faso. Gaunt, defiant, illuminated by a single spotlight, he spoke directly to his people. They tried to bury me. They tried to bury the truth. But I am still here, and so is Burkina Faso. You are not alone. This coup will not stand. This betrayal will not go unanswered. I will not die in a bunker. I will rise in your hearts. I will return. And with me, justice. The screen cut to black. Within minutes, encrypted responses flooded in. Loyalists, hidden cells, civil servants, even a few battalion leaders who had refused to answer Bako's call. A resistance had been born in those 7 minutes, but so had a target. The next morning, Traore's image was broadcast again, this time on Bako's feed. A deepfake manipulated to show the president in chains, confessing to treason and corruption. The regime was moving fast, rewriting reality while truth bled out. Miriam smashed the receiver. We don't have long. Traore's voice was calm. Then we take him down from the inside. How? Karim asked. Traore turned toward him slowly. We don't just expose him, we force his allies to destroy him. What are you saying? We leak his crimes. Not to the people, to his funders, his mercenaries, the foreign backers who wanted quiet power, not chaos. We show them Bako's gone rogue. We make him look like a risk. Divide and conquer. Miriam whispered. We make them afraid of their own puppet. And when he panics, Karim added, he overreaches. That afternoon, encrypted data was sent to every private intelligence firm, diplomatic attaché, and offshore bank connected. Bako's network. Included were recordings of him ordering political killings, rigging foreign aid contracts, and planning targeted strikes on embassies. The effect was immediate. His international support began to collapse. Funding froze. Mercenary units went silent. One by one, his foundation began to crumble, but the man himself remained untouchable until a name surfaced, a captain named Armel Sana, Bako's former bodyguard, quiet, loyal, but recently demoted and sent into exile. Traore had met him once, long ago, a devout man who believed in honor before power. We find him, Traore said. He gets us close. And that night, Karim and Miriam slipped past 4 checkpoints and a minefield to find Captain Sana hiding in a burned-out school near Kaya. He didn't greet them with a handshake. He greeted them with a pistol. You should be dead, he said to Karim. I was. Karim replied, but I came back with the man who saved me. Will you help us finish what he started? Captain Sana stared at him a long time, then lowered his weapon. You have one chance. When do we move? Miriam asked. He looked at his watch. Tomorrow. Bako attends a secret ceremony at Fort Toma. Only 6 men guard him, all ex-intel, the rest are ceremonial. If we're fast, we can end it before the next sunrise. Karim nodded. We've waited 7 years. What's one more night? And in the silence that followed, the ghosts of the old regime stirred once more, but this time they were wearing the faces of justice. Tomorrow would be the reckoning.